Hello.
Hi everybody. Welcome to GamePunx. Wow, I just peaked the audio
Oh,
super
yeah.
bad. Let's restart that actually. Hi
Hi.
everybody.
Oh, hello.
Welcome to GamePunx. My name is Ryan,
My name is Ben, I think.
and this I hope so. Unless things have changed.
No, I'm still Ben.
Still Ben. I'm still Ben.
I'm still.
Uh we have a lot of shit to get through because a lot of really good games came out in the last couple weeks, and you got the best of all of them.
Yes.
And you've been playing it extensively, and I've been like watching video after video and playthrough after playthrough of it, so I'm kind of obsessed with it. But I want to just kind of like run through the other shit that I did this week quickly because I feel like that's going to take up the bulk of the episode.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a big one because I have much to say.
Yeah, and I have a lot to say too, just based on my observations, watching playthroughs of it and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
seeing how the characters
I've also
and story flow.
watched a bunch of movies too that I kind of want to gloss over. I don't.
Yeah,
I need
sure.
to remember them though.
So let's. I'll go through. I'll go through my quick things first. So
Yeah, go for it.
First things first. I've been playing a lot more Bug Fables and the Everlasting Sapling. So for those of you who need a refresher, Bug Fables is a game I picked up on the Switch store. It just got updated after basically its year anniversary, and it just has finally come to consoles. It's on the. It was on Steam. Now it is on Switch, and I believe it's on PS4 and Xbox as well.
Yeah.
But it is a game that is very transparently and like within like its selling point, Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door tribute, in that it plays and looks practically exactly like that game, which is not a problem for me because I love Paper Mario and I love Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door specifically. It's one of my favorite games of all time. So I'm really enjoying myself, and something I didn't really talk about the last time that I spoke about it, the last episode of GamePunks that we did, is that I really appreciate how they take kind of the puzzle fight design of the Paper Mario series and just kind of, I don't know, add some new twists to it because of how your party is organized and your ability pool. Because I feel like the battles in this game remind me of Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door in all the best ways possible, in that you have like a party that you can swap between characters with differing abilities and kind of a lot of different ways to dispatch your foes, but certain enemies just kind of require you to know how they can be hit and where they can be hit versus when they can and can't. And this like I said, puzzle design to the fights is like super exceptional. I don't know. The fact that the game is really challenging me to learn the battle system and to learn my moves and to learn how to ration my items and when to use them.
Yeah.
It feels like it's the kind of RPG learning curve that I really like, where you are being taught by the game through its fights to learn to use the battle system better. So a good example of this is the boss fight that I just completed, I think yesterday, as we're recording this yesterday. That fight is against a boss called the Heavy Drone B33. It's a big bee drone, and the way that it is dispatched is that you have to knock it out of the sky a couple times first, and you have to hit it at least twice so that it falls, and then when it's on the ground you can hit it with ground attacks. However, it also has the ability to kind of shoot a rocket up into the air that will home in on one of your party members and hit them after 3 turns. And it's unavoidable unless you use like a shield spell at the very last minute. And it also kind of summons little subordinate drones that just kind of cause an extra problem for you. And it has a bunch of other just annoying attacks that make it just kind of a really challenging boss fight. But what I like the most about this fight, like I said, is it kind of forced me to learn the ins and outs of the battle system really quickly. So in the game, I think I said this last week as well, you have 3 party members instead of 2. That's a pretty big shift in characters on the screen in battle than you have in the original Paper Mario games, because in those games you have Mario and a follower. In this game it's Kabu, Vi, and Leaf. And Kabu, Vi, and Leaf, you'll play as all 3 of them at once. You can swap between who's in front of the party, but it's always going to be like Kabu, Leaf, and Violet in that order.
Yeah.
So the one character will always follow the other character no matter what.
Mm.
And in that, you kind of have to adjust based on the battle scenario who you want in the front of the party. Typically, I pick Kabu because he's the heaviest character and he can kind of take the most damage.
Yeah.
He has good defense, but usually you can have like one character in the front and two in the back. The character in the front will absorb most of the attacks. The character in the middle will get the kind of second most, and the character in the back will get the least. So I always stick Vi at the back because she's at the back if Kabu's at the front. And Vi being at the back is good because she's also the weakest character. So the game is kind of designed to allow you to be able to do that, which is great. But yeah, another thing in this battle system that kind of helps differentiate it from Paper Mario is that there's an ability called Turn Relay,
Okay.
in which you basically are
Yeah.
you are basically able to take away one character's turn and give it to another so that they can have two turns.
Yeah. So if like someone has a weakness against a certain character, you can just double up on that attack.
Exactly. So exactly like that. So you can double up on it instead, and it's a really really helpful ability to have in a boss fight against something like the heavy bee drone, because Kabu and Leaf are practically useless against that boss until it's on the ground. And so in order to make it super effective, what you're going to want to do is hit it twice with one of Vi's attacks, and then maybe hit it once with one of Kabu or Leaf's stronger attacks.
Mm-hmm.
However, something even more useful that I found and a really helpful strategy was in exploiting some of the abilities I had, I was able to kind of take away a big chunk of the boss's health really quickly in my second playthrough of the fight, because I sat down and I strategized and I thought to myself, okay, if I have Kabu at the front and Vi at the back, it means that I can use like Kabu to draw the attacks of the boss. I have Vi to knock it out of the sky, and then I have Leaf to not just offer items for support, but also to use his ice magic, because he's the only character in the game who has magic. To use his ice magic to immobilize the boss before it gets back up, because the thing with this boss is that you hit it twice and it falls, right? However, it's on the ground for one turn. After that, it's back up into the sky, and you have to do it again. In order to avoid it going back up just immediately after, I used one of Kabu's abilities to immobilize the boss for that turn, so that it was back on the ground a second time around when my turn came back, and I was able to hit it with everything that I had again.
Mm-hmm.
So it forced me to learn to use the battle system in a more efficient way for that scenario. And I don't know, I just appreciate a game that's able to do that. It's something that I feel even Paper Mario doesn't actually do super well.
Yeah.
Even the Thousand Year Door, like the bosses are always kind of, it's, you know, in your enemy to enemy fights, it does, but I feel like the bosses don't always feel that way in those games.
Mm-hmm.
In this game, I feel like I'm really learning the ins and outs of the battle system whilst doing the boss fight, as opposed to the boss fight kind of necessitating me to have to learn it outside of battle so that I go into the boss fight knowing that it's going to do some bullshit. I felt like I was learning through the fight as opposed to learning because the fight wasn't teaching me anything.
Yeah. Like, instead of brute forcing it, you're like, oh.
Exactly, because I feel like a lot of Paper Mario and the Thousand Year bosses, you can actually brute force them, because
You can just mash those out.
Yeah, you can fuck some of those bosses up pretty hard with like some of even your basic badge abilities and like one or two of your Crystal Star attacks, which, I mean, I see why it's there, because, you know, some people who want to play a Mario game aren't necessarily the most hardcore RPG players.
No.
This game is pretty expressly made for fans of RPGs that are in, and it is made in the style of Thousand Year Door because it's a good RPG, but, you know, the mechanics are tweaked just enough for it to feel super unique. It also just has it's a very charming story and aesthetic. I like little bugs. I like that they're all little knights.
Yeah, they're very cute.
And they're wandering around and exploring.
They're very cutely drawn. Like, stylistically, like, the game just seems very adorable and wholesome.
It's very charming and wholesome. The characters are like, you know, there's quite a bit of interiority to them. Like, it's clear that Kabu is kind of like a nice good boy who just wants everybody to be safe and to be happy, but he's clearly like repressing some kind of trauma that he hasn't spoken about yet. Leaf is like 30 years old, which in bug years makes him like a fucking centenarian, basically. And he has come back to a world that has forgotten all about him. That has changed entirely. So he's kind of a man out of time character.
Okay, yeah.
And Vi is this overcompensating, greedy little know-it-all who is such an abrasive and obnoxious person on the surface, but she clearly cares a lot about her comrades and other people. She just hates being looked down on and treated like she's not capable when she absolutely is.
Would you say she's Asuka adjacent?
A little bit, actually, in that she's somebody who, if you just look at her on their surface, she is a petulant, greedy child, but she is really not, and I like that quite a bit. It's just it's a very sweet game. The characters are very sweet to one another, and I've been enjoying it quite a bit. So I'm just getting back into Bug Fables. I think I'm just gonna go through the whole game like this. Like, it's not something I want to juggle with other games at this point. It really is enticing me to go forward. So, yeah, Bug Fables is really good. And it's as good a segue as any, I guess, because it's such a cartoony and fun, wholesome game, to talk about a cartoon that is extremely wholesome and fun and very video gamey. So I've been watching a lot of OK K.O, Let's Be Heroes.
Yeah.
Because I am a big fan of this show, and it's the first time since the show ended that I felt compelled to rewatch it. But on Halloween, I actually rewatched one of my favorite episodes of the show, which is one where it's a tribute to Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul School. Where they have all the Ghoul School characters as people that Enid was friends with when she was young. Enid was one of the characters in the show. But it just, the charm of that episode compelled me to just rewatch the whole show all over again. Mm-hmm. So I'm rewatching OK K.O. For those who are not aware of OK K.O, it's a Cartoon Network show that aired from like 2017, I believe, to 2019. So it didn't have that long a run. It had a really, really long first season, and then it had 2 extra seasons that were a little shorter at the back end, kind of like a season 2 that was split into 2 parts. So it's a pretty long show. It's got like 100 and something episodes. Not quite up to the length of Adventure Time or Steven Universe, but pretty long. It's a show that was kind of in the production pipeline for a long time because there was a pilot way back when in like 2014 or something like that.
2013, I believe.
2013, yeah, which is a really cute pilot. It's called Lakewood Plaza Turbo. It was made by Ian Jones-Cordy, who's I believe now the husband of Rebecca Sugar, the creator of Steven Universe.
Maybe.
I think they're married now. I'm pretty sure they're married. I know they've been together for like a decade, but I believe they're married now. But yeah, Ian Jones-Cordy is the creator. He made this pilot, and Ian has been somebody who was on the internet for a long time. Like, he was a Newgrounds animator when I was like a little kid going on Newgrounds, and he made comics that I read as a kid called RPG World that I really, really liked, obviously, because they were about JRPG conventions and lampooning them. But he's been on the internet since I was like a 5-year-old. And he was a Newgrounds animator. He did a show called Knock Force that I liked with Jim Gizriel, who was his roommate, who's a guy who's on a podcast that I like called the Pizza Party Podcast.
The Pizza Party Podcast. That's a good name.
It is a good name. They were, both in animation school, I think, at NYU. Mm-hmm. And so they did this animated series together, which was them kind of animating over their conversations, and it was very funny and cute, and they made some fun raps together and stuff. It was good. It was a show that actually kind of got me into hip-hop, which is interesting. But yeah, so Ian started working at Cartoon Network. He worked on, I think, Venture Brothers, and then he went over and he worked on Adventure Time, and from there he started his pilot, and then his pilot didn't get picked up, but his partner Rebecca's did. So Rebecca went to do Steven Universe, and he did, a lot of the character designs and wrote a lot of the episodes and did storyboards on them. And then he finally got the chance to launch OK K.O as, I think it started off as a Flash game and some mobile app exclusive short films.
Oh,
but
really?
Then it expanded into a full TV show, and all of these things are really distinct from each other. Like, the TV show is kind of different from the mobile app and the shorts, which is different from the pilot, which is different from the video game that Capybara made later, which I have and is very fun. It's kind of like a beat 'em up. But OK K.O, it's a very video gamey show that's heavily influenced by anime and like classic retro video games and 80s and 90s children's cartoons, like toy commercial type cartoons. But it's a very good-hearted and sweet show about a young boy named K.O. who is like 6 to 11 years old, which is, I think the joke is he's 6 to 11. He has no age, but he's somewhere between there. And him just kind of wanting to become a hero, because in this world, being a hero is everything. Pretty much everybody is a superhero. Everybody's got their own trading card. They fight a villain called Lord Boxman, who is a bit of Dr. Robotnik and a bit of Dr. Wily. He's voiced by Jim Cummings, who played Robotnik in Sonic Sat AM.
Yeah.
So it's pretty great. But it's a very cute show. It's very friendly, and it's got a very nice, gentle art style. Lots of very funny episodes about things that I am nostalgic for, like trading card games, and like specifically like anime tie-in trading card games. Because there's a great episode called Wacky Jacksies where they play like a game of jacks, but it's like super jacks, and then they get called to like this, you know, game store called the Shado Realm, and they go into the Shado Realm and play Wacky Jacksies with a bunch of guys who look like Akira Toriyama or like Yoshihiro Togashi characters.
Oh my god!
And fight against a dude who sounds like Pegasus, voiced by ProZD. So it's pretty good. It's a really, really funny show. It's geeky and goofy and silly, and it's very sweet and wholesome and good-hearted. The characters have like a lot of interiority for a show that comes from like things, you know, it's based on a lot of shit that is really flaccid and kind of surface deep.
Yeah.
But it's not itself like a surface deep facsimile of those things. It's quite remarkably sweet, and the characters have a very cool dynamic with one another, in that it's, you know, two older teens mentoring this younger kid as they work together at a bodega, but this bodega sells like superhero accessories. It's so fun and goofy. There's like a crossover episode with Sonic the Hedgehog, which is of really
course
wonderful.
Where I know them from. Like that's the only thing I know about OK K.O.
And it's a really good episode.
It is. It's amazing. And Sonic
they did a crossover with Captain Planet.
Oh,
which was really good too.
That's weird.
Yeah, and they do like at the end they do a fake PSA in the art style of the original Captain Planet show.
Oh my god!
But all the OK K.Os are in that art style. It's so funny. Oh my god! But it's got like a bunch of notable voice actors and stuff in it too. They did a great crossover with Ben 10, Teen Titans Go, and Steven Universe, where they all did like a Cartoon Network tribute, and it was really, really cool and fun. I don't know. It's OK K.O. Let's Be Heroes is a really good show. It's super charming, very relevant to the interests of anybody who's into video games and anime, because it is just video games and anime, the American cartoon. But find some time in your life to sit down and enjoy OK K.O. because I think you're going to be really satisfied with what you see. And then my final cartoon that I want to talk about. I won't talk about it too much because I've only watched a little bit of it, but I started watching the 2020 Hulu reboot of Animaniacs.
Yes, which is
just...
I don't know about your timeline, but it is all over mine.
It's all over mine too. It's just come out pretty recently. I was able to cop some illegal rips of it. But I'm enjoying my time with it so far. I've been watching a couple of episodes. I think I'm 5 or 6 in at this point. And I watched 4 of them with my friends already. But it's interesting in that they have the original voice cast back. But the production team, the writing team, they're different. And so it's kind of not... It doesn't have entirely the same feel as the original show.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little edgier, but not by much. Like it's not like, you know, they just rebooted it for Adult Swim and suddenly they can say fuck. Like, there's no cussing. It's just as kind of adult as it has always been, in that it makes a lot of references and kind of wink wink nudge nudge adult humor. But the subject matter they tackle is what's changed a little bit. Like there was a Pinky and the Brain short that they do in one of the episodes called Pinko and the Brain, and it's about Brain basically manufacturing the Red Scare. It's pretty like he basically becomes like McCarthy. He basically becomes McCarthy, but against mice, and he's telling everybody in Congress in 1953 that they're all mice and he's the only one that's not a mouse, and basically gaslighting everyone. So it's pretty funny. It's cute that they are able to kind of do stuff like that, because I think they know their audience is slightly more like an adult audience than like the prospective child audience that the show is originally targeted towards.
And I mean, even
not that
the
show is
original
unfriendly to kids.
Yeah, I mean, even the original show had things that went over kids' heads that were clearly for the adults. Like going back and watching it now, you're like, oh. Like every kid show has that. I think purposefully, just because,
especially the WB like Spielberg co-production shows like Tiny Toons, Animaniacs, Freakazoid.
Oh god, Tiny Toons. Shows. Tiny Toons was filled to burst.
Yeah, with all of this kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge humor. So it's pretty good. The new theme song is cute because it references like a lot of the things that I think a lot of people expect from shows nowadays. Like there's a great line where it's like. I think they say they're like they're pronoun neutral. They have a diverse cast of characters that tested well in focus groups. They're pronoun neutral, and if the trolls are mad, well, they did meta first, so they can go fuck themselves. It's really funny. Like there's like a line where like in the song where like the guy is about to type an angry comment on the internet and the Warners just come and like rip his gray dirty like grease stained shirt off, and he's got like a 1993 Animaniacs shirt under, and he's like, yeah, we did it first. It's really cute. But it's I think they say something like I need to find the exact lines just to say it because it's really funny, and you just need to hear it. Animaniacs 2020 theme song. Let me read you the exact lyrics.
Yeah.
It's quite good. Okay, meet Pinky and the Brain who want to rule the universe. A brand new cast who tested well in focus group research, gender balanced, pronoun neutral, and ethnically diverse. The trolls will say we're so passé, but we did meta first. How good is that, right? It's really, really funny.
That's so funny. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's good. And just like the original show, they've got a variable line right at the end where they say like, something, 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 Animaniacs.
Yeah.
Those are the facts. So one of them that I liked was like filled with aspartame, like stuff like that. It's just a lot of good natured humor.
It's
a
nice
good mix of kind of that jokey vaudeville cartoon humor from the 40s and like a lot of contemporary settings and sensibilities for the shorts. It's good. They give Dot a lot more to do. Not that she never had a lot to do to begin with. She was always like she was a prominent character, of course. She was one of the 3 lead characters. But she's like, I don't know. They make her very like self-aware of like hashtag girl boss culture. So she's constantly she's constantly trying to like kind of like work her way up in the world, or like or say something vaguely feministy, and it's quite funny. She's a very assertive female character now, which is nice. Not that she wasn't always, but it's just they're playing with it now that that's actually like a thing in our culture.
Yeah, of course.
So they're having a good time with it. But yeah, I think overall it's pretty funny so far. There have been a couple of episodes where I maybe I groan more than I laugh. But it's also every episode is 3 shorts, right?
Yeah.
So they have 3 chances an episode to do something really, really funny, and I feel like 2 out of the 3 are always really, really good, and 1 out of the 3 is just okay. That's been like the track record for me so far.
Yeah, that's not too bad. If it's only okay, it's pretty fine.
Good. Exactly. I'd rather it be okay than like absolutely offensive, or just like really boring. And it's never a boring show. It's always funny.
Yeah.
It's just whether the humor always hits like kapow hits the way some of the old show does is your mileage may vary, but it's clearly it's a lot of writers working really hard to do something really fun and special with the show. I do wish they got Tom Ruegger back because he's the original creator of the show.
Yeah.
I know he expressed interest in doing it, but it doesn't seem like they gave him a chance. That kind of stinks.
Yeah,
but
it's no good.
It's still, it's still good for what it is. I'm shocked it even came out because it felt like to me it was in the production pipeline forever.
I was about to say, hasn't that been in purgatory since like 2016 or something like that?
Yeah, I think they announced it, in 2018 that it was like for sure happening.
Yeah.
But because the show was, I think, like written around 2018, there's a lot of humor in it where it's like they do Trump jokes, but they're not the most like indulgent with the Trump jokes, which is good. And they're also like they knew the show I think was coming out in 2020, so they didn't make any jokes about him like being the president past 2020, like jokes about him having won the election or something like that. So there's a lot of stuff. There's also like a lot of things that they didn't account for, like COVID, for instance. You're not going to get an Animaniacs episode about COVID.
Unfortunately.
There isn't one because they could not have possibly done it in time. However, there is a really good Animaniacs one about the Olympics that never happened. So there you go.
That's great.
They did a really great Olympics one.
That's great.
It's been good so far.
I feel like that's one of those things where people don't really realize sometimes how long it takes to animate a show, and if you have a small production team, it takes literally years to write an episode and get it fully fleshed out and then fully animated and then colored and then like, you know, like it's not one of those like things you can really crank out in a week. It's not like not like The Simpsons where you have a full building of people.
No, exactly. Like you have like a consistent writing staff that's always there. Like this is clearly like it's, you know, 1 or 2 writers per short, you know, with like a whole team, and it's segmented into shorts for a reason, because like each one, unless they're meant to not feel self-contained, are pretty self-contained. Like you can tell what the sensibilities of each writer is based on who's writing which short, because certain shorts are like they skew a little more towards what you would expect from the original show, and some just like outright parodies that like they were used to doing, but of things that are more recent. So like the Warners make an app, you know. Is one of them, and that one's pretty good actually. I really like that one. None of the ones where it's like the Warners with iPad are actually that cringy. They're all pretty funny.
Okay,
so that's good. It's just like kind of some of the general ones that I find mildly like, yeah, that was all right. That's like kind of like a, you know, a C tier episode of the old show.
Yeah, and I mean that happens for every animated show. I think there's highs and lows with everything. You have good arcs, and then you have filler episodes where you're like, this doesn't have to exist.
Another thing I do super appreciate about this, though, is, and I'm super happy they did this, they trimmed the fat so hard on all the characters, so it's just the Warners and Pinky and the Brain.
Good.
That's honestly all I want. I don't need fucking Good Feathers, because that's a parody that just should stay in the 90s, because it's like, how many jokes can you tell about Italians now before you exhaust all the Italian jokes?
Like, I mean,
like, I'm all for making fun of Italians, believe me.
Of course, but it was already
the most
done.
Controversial thing I've ever said on the podcast.
It would have been played out.
Yeah, it's super played out to just do like, these guys is mobsters. Like that's the whole.
Remember
the whole joke of Goodfeathers is how
Goodfellas?
these pigeons are. Yeah, these pigeons are just a Martin Scorsese cast. Like this sucks.
Remember?
Give me more.
Any child watching this now is like, why? What the fuck is this?
Exactly. Like those are the parts of the original show that I feel have aged the worst. By far, is just like all the characters that aren't the Warners or Pinky and the Brain just kind of don't matter.
And clearly the writing staff.
The only one I'm kind of peed they got rid of is Slappy Squirrel, because I really like Slappy.
Oh,
she's
God.
funny.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I feel like the writing staff, like for Good Feathers and the others, like they were like, there's not much to do here.
Exactly. Like I can go the rest of my life not watching like another one of the shorts with like the dog protecting the little girl, or with the Good Feathers. Like I said, kind of miss Slappy.
Yeah,
but honestly,
Slappy.
Trimming the fat was a good idea, because I really, really, really like the new Pinky and the Brain shorts. All of them have been good so far.
I feel like the problem with Slappy now would be like, again, not necessarily that like you couldn't do content with her, but like what is there to do?
Well, yeah, I guess because it's like, I mean, at one point does the idea of like an old washed up cartoon star who kind of is like a washed up celebrity trying to, you know, constantly just somehow get a little bit of fame or glory back.
Yeah, and then you have all the internet like people being like, oh wow, this is just a Horseman ripoff. Horseman, what is it called? The horse show.
Oh yeah, the BoJack Horseman.
Yes, Jack Bowman. That's
Jack Bowman, which is a good show, by the way. Mm-hmm. But is like.
But that's what I mean. It's
I think it took the idea of washed up comedy star, trying to somehow get back a little bit of fame, and like made it into a full like 7-season drama.
Yeah.
So like you kind of can't do much with Slappy anymore. Slappy is a character that's like, you did everything you could with her. Do like her though, and it's not like I'm not getting enough of everybody else, because like I really enjoy my time spent with Pinky and the Brain. I love Pinky and the Brain. They're by far my favorite.
I was about to say, I think
Animaniacs.
Pinky and the Brain's probably the strongest thing about Animaniacs.
Yeah, I love the Warners. Don't get me wrong; they're fun and goofy, and I like when they do a good parody, because they remind me of a nice classic Looney Tunes cartoon.
Yeah.
But Pinky and the Brain, I just love the fucking harebrained schemes, and I love the dynamic that they have, because it's very gay and very cute.
Yeah.
And I just love hearing Maurice LaMarche's Orson Welles voice.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
It's so good.
It's so fucking funny. And I could literally listen to Maurice LaMarche talk in the Brain voice forever.
I know.
Forever.
It was my favorite thing as a kid. I remember one Valentine's, my mom got me like the Pinky and the Brain like heart box thing, and it had like
so
a little
cute.
brain statue. I think I have it somewhere. My daughter probably has it like hidden in her shit, actually. But I know I still have it somewhere.
That's great.
Yeah.
There we go. Hey, and Pinky and the Brain is now something you can actually share with your daughter.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's relevant.
It's going to be good for I think a new generation of kids to grow up with a funny cartoon. I think kids will really like the new Animaniacs.
Yeah.
Because it's still Animaniacs. It's still something everybody can enjoy. So yeah, Animaniacs 2020 is good. If you hear any overly negative reviews of it, tell them to shut up. It's probably some idiot trying to make it part of his fucking culture war.
Yeah.
Most likely than not. That's kind of how it is nowadays anyway, with any kind of media criticism. So
yeah,
just watch it and enjoy it, or do what you want. But it's fun, and I liked it. So I said I wasn't going to talk a lot about that. I did.
That's all right.
I guess I had more to say about Animaniacs than I thought I did.
It's a normal
I really
podcast episode, and the longer we do these, I feel like the longer they're going to get. We're going to start hitting 3 hours and being like, oh, that was a short episode.
Probably. Well, let's cut to the chase. Let's get into the meat of the episode.
Yes.
Let's talk about Yakuza Like a Dragon.
We have to, because it's my game of the year. So far, there's still a month left. Ish.
Yeah, pretty much. There's a month left in the year, and Yakuza Like a Dragon just kind of came in and was like, "Fuck all y'all."
I really don't think
out.
I really don't think that Cyberpunk is gonna take it on this one, honestly.
No, let's be real. Also, isn't Cyberpunk delayed?
It's coming out on December 10th, so it could still come out and steal my heart.
It's not gonna.
But
I don't think Cyberpunk is gonna be as good as Yakuza.
The
Like a
more
Dragon.
I see of Cyberpunk 2077, the more I'm like, it got delayed a lot. I don't know if this is gonna be it. I don't know.
I can already tell you right now, Yakuza Like a Dragon is a better role-playing game than Cyberpunk.
Oh yes, 100%.
Yeah. And it is crazy to think they finally made like a proper turn-based RPG out of the Yakuza series.
And it is the best way to play that series.
I think this is what Yakuza has kind of always wanted to be.
Yeah.
Am I wrong in thinking that it's kind of reached peak in terms of gameplay-wise what they're able to do with this series?
I mean, I think it's weird. It's weird because Yakuza 0 and stuff, it was all like button mashy, but you had these crazy moves.
Well, that's the thing, and you also have like the ability to shift between two distinct fighting styles that are like, one is more catered towards crowd control, one is more catered towards individual one-on-one
it depends
fights.
on the game, but yes, and
you see them adding system upon system to what fairly was an incomplex battle system when it started out.
And then you have heat moves, which are just like critical hits or special moves, right? Like magic moves, and when
you do that, you've introduced basically stats into a beat 'em up.
I think that's what they realized as they were adding these systems, because they were just so used to like, okay, well, it's a brawler, so XXXY is your heavy, you can stance switch or whatever style, switch, and then you get different moves and your character moves differently and the different things you can do, and they were like, we could just like I think what happened was someone was like, what if we just made it an RPG game? Because they were like, all right, we're moving on from Kiryu and Majima. We're like, we got to get away from that. It's been like 15 games.
Yeah, we're doing a soft reboot of the series.
Yes. And they're like, what if like some guy just really fucking loved Dragon Quest, and he, in his mind, and like even in Yakuza Like a Dragon, there's an explanation for why it's turn-based, where at the very beginning you have like the tutorial fight, right? And then your friend comes up and is like, Ichiban, why the fuck do you always let those guys hit you? You could destroy them in no time if you just fucking like just hit them. And he was like, no, I'm trying to be like honorable. I treat it like I'm a hero. Like I'm a hero, like Dragon Quest.
He wants to be a hero like Dragon Quest.
He literally says like Dragon Quest, and his friends like
he says he's obsessed. Ichiban is obsessed with Dragon Quest,
an obsession like bordering on like psychotic break and delusion.
Yeah, literally bordering on something that directly affects his psychosis.
Yes, like actually, and like everyone you hang out with every time is just like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like there's a scene where you grab a bat that's stuck in the cement, and your friends try to pull it out, and they're like, I can't do it, and he pulls it out, and there's like lightning coming out and blah blah, and then enemies show up and they like transform, and he's like, you didn't see them transform, and his friends are like, what the fuck what are you talking about, man?
They're just like, Ichiban, you crazy motherfucker.
Yeah, and he's like, whatever, I'm just gonna continue and roll with it like it's just like that Dragon Quest. And you're like, oh my god, Ichiban. He's a husbando for sure.
What I like about the approach they're taking to the storytelling in this game is that they've sacrificed none of the strength of Yakuza's storytelling.
Literally none.
That it's a really, really in-depth narrative, personal narrative driven by the character's personal investment in what is happening, and by like the interplay and drama of these different old honor guard Yakuza versus like these new modern crime organizations that are kind of encroaching on their territory. Yeah. And how they're being forced to either lose their way as Yakuza and adapt to this new scenario, or see themselves basically slowly die out to a world of a changing criminal underworld.
Yeah, well, I guess we're gonna we should spoilers for Yakuza Like a Dragon. If you
there will be some, I know we're not going to go too deep into it.
No,
but
I'm still very early, but I'm going to talk about the early game right now, just to set up everything we just talked about, because essentially Ichiban as a child beats up a Yakuza so bad that he almost dies. So he gets abducted by another clan. He's not a Yakuza at this point, right? He's just mugging people for money, because he was born he was born in a soap house.
Yeah, he was born in a. If you don't know what a soap land is, soap lands are like basically like legal gray area brothels. We have them here. Yeah, we have them here too. In Japan, the whole idea is, of course, because exchanging money for sexual favors is illegal, and there's like an additional law that requires you to have at least some kind of like prior knowledge and interactions with the person that you're having sex with. You basically pay them to bathe you, and then after the bath, the exchange of sexual favors is considered entirely like legal, consensual, and not prostitution.
Yeah, because you paid for the bath.
Yeah, which it's a very dumb thing. That's basically, they had to make this whole industry surrounding like this, because like sex work is just illegal, and that's really wrong.
If the prohibition told us
sex work should be fucking legal, and people who don't believe that are idiots.
If the prohibition taught us anything, is that if you make sex work illegal, people are just gonna make it in their own bathtub.
Exactly. It's exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Literally the same thing. So, yeah, anyway, he was born in a soap land and raised by, the prostitutes and the brothel owner.
Yeah, because his dad obviously didn't stick around, and his mom birthed him in the soap land and was like, I gotta go. So the soap land owner actually adopts him and basically raises him along with everyone who works there, and a cigarette owner, like a cigarette shop owner, and a bar owner who is a horribly like just alcoholic to the
is she
extreme.
Supposed to be like a mama?
She's kind of like she's more like an aunt character.
She's no, like a mama-san, like one of those like bars in Japan where the owner is like an old woman, and like part of the appeal of going to the bar is talking with her, like she's very good at conversation. I think she is supposed to be like a mama.
I don't think so, because she's too drunk.
Oh, okay.
Like her bar was a Yakuza like hangout place for a bit.
Okay.
You find out later that well, actually, we'll get... Well, fuck it, whatever. You find out after Ichiban gets out of jail that she, like... Soon after he was arrested and was in jail for 19 years, she kicked the smoking and the booze one shot because she got very sick and was like, I gotta stop this to survive. And now she's, like, one of those healthy tea places.
That's really funny.
Yeah. And you go to see her after he gets out of jail, and he's like, what the fuck? What? Yeah, everything's different.
Before we get too deep, what I wanted to say, I guess I'll finish what I was saying before, is that the series sacrifices none of what people like about Yakuza, none of the themes of Yakuza, but also rearranges them to center around a character who is really different from Kiryu, because Kiryu is a very traditional Yakuza.
Yeah.
In terms of, like, his interests, his personality.
Well, I mean, I explained it to a friend.
His sense of honor and duty.
Yeah, I explained it to a friend as like, all right, imagine Kiryu is Jotaro, right? And then Ichiban would be Josuke.
Ichiban is exactly Josuke.
Like,
for all of those who are JoJo fans, that's a really great comparison.
Yeah, it just
because they couldn't be more different from one another.
But also they
have the same goals and same
drive.
Their
drive.
approach and interests are completely like diametrically opposed almost, but their goals are the same.
Ichiban is your hot-headed shonen kid. Kiryu is your cool, calm, collected badass.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And like in every way that Kiryu is like stoic and composed and like, you know, emotional, but constantly needing to be in control of his emotions. Yeah. Ichiban is like he is a pressure cooker of like just big emotions, rage, joy, sadness, and he's not afraid to show his emotions.
Yes.
And to be emotional in front of other people. He's not afraid to act on his emotions rashly either, which kind of gets him into a lot of trouble. And he is like just ridiculously loyal and such a good friend. Like the exact person you want in your corner when shit goes down, because he will fucking fight tooth and claw to make sure that you are safe.
Yeah,
he is a good fucking dude. Like, well, I mean, really deep down,
even
just, like, the best kind of person.
At the beginning of the game, he goes out with the patriarch of his clan, who is Masamu Arakawa. Sorry.
Arakawa.
Yeah, Arakawa, who's voiced by George Takei.
And George Takei's performance is so good.
Everyone, the English dub in this version is fucking god tier.
Yeah, it's the first game in the series since the Yakuza OG Yakuza game to have a proper full English dub, and not like there are some spin-offs that have English dubs like Judgment, and then
that first one was crazy too,
it had
Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill and a bunch of other people and like a bunch of notable voice actors.
It was overcast.
It was. But this has an amazing voice cast
and an amazing localization because there's two moments, hilarious moments that stood out to me that I've thought about once a day rent free, since they happened. And the first one I'm going to talk about is we're going to be talking about this for like at least an hour, but whatever. There's a side quest thing where you have to go to a language school, and the setup for that entire side quest, like side mission branch, is you're right outside the school, and this white blonde-haired Caucasian, clearly American man walks up to Ichiban and says, "Do you know where the train station is?" And Ichiban's like, "What?" Put in English, and then he's like, "Where is the train station?" And Ichiban goes, "Oh shit, English. looks at the camera and gives a really slow thumbs up, and then looks back at the guy and is like, oh God, and he's like, okay, I gotta try out my English, and he just says some fucking weird shit. He's like, you I don't remember what he says, but anyway, it's just like he looks at the camera and gives like a slow thumbs up, and that's not in the Japanese version.
That's wonderful.
It's fucking hilarious.
That's so wonderful. Holy fuck.
The other thing I want to talk about, side quest wise, real quick, just to get these out of the way, because these are like the two most standout ones that I thought were also hilarious, and for basically the same reason, because I love it when video games do this. But so there's a thing called the shoji decks.
Yes.
Yes. So you've seen this, which is great.
I have, yes.
So like there's this thing called the shoji decks, and it just tracks like all your enemies, and then you can go find their weakness and figure out what it is, whatever. The setup for that is basically Professor Oak just is like, hey, you fight this guy and it'll help, blah blah blah, whatever. And he's like, come to my lab, boy. And he does the whole like he does the whole
boy or a girl thing?
No, he doesn't do the are you a boy or a girl thing. It's the only thing that's missing though, because everything else is like, oh, we live in a world with these super jittery people, so I call them Sojimons.
That's so fucking
funny. Yeah, he's like, I've been studying them, blah blah blah, and there's like a bunch of like to make you test the shoji decks. He's like, here, fight one of these three guys, and three guys come out, and one of them's in a red suit, one of them's in a green suit, and one of them's in a blue suit, and he's like, which one do you want to fight first?
Oh my god.
And you're like, oh my god,
it's so fucking funny.
And then he's like, God, what is it? He's like, oh, I'm trying to find world peace, so we have to defeat all the Sojimon. What was it? So you get out there and dispatch them all, so you can be the Sojimon master. And he just looks at the camera, and it holds on that frame for like 4 seconds. And then the scene continues, and you're like, oh my god, I love this game.
Oh, that's really funny.
It was
hilarious. Game is like a love letter to RPGs in so many ways.
So many like
in
nods.
In the ways that it reinterprets like RPG ideas into like the Yakuza universe.
Yeah, it's well, okay. Another thing that you get is summons, right?
Yeah, so I love the summons. Yeah, I was just about to say the summons are such a good example of how they like take an RPG concept that is super like, I don't know how the fuck you would manage to do this in a modern context. Like even Earthbound didn't have summons because there's no way to do summons in that setting.
And they're like, well, we'll just make Ichiban be crazy as hell and just do it. And I think my favorite part about it is just like one of your party members, I don't remember who, Adachi. Adachi finds gets handed this pamphlet, and it's called Pound.
It's like Pound something.
Pound Town.
It basically it looks like an ad for some kind of brothel,
like sex work stuff.
Yeah, like a sex worker kind of thing.
So he calls it, and he's like, oh, my free trial, you're sending someone here, right? Oh my god, amazing, cool. He's like, it worked, man. And then this huge black guy jumps off the roof,
and lands there. He's like,
lands in front of you. He's like, hey, Adachi-san, right? He's like, yeah. He's like, all right, who we fighting? And you're like, what? And then three guys show up, and they're like, shut the fuck up, you're making so much noise. And then
that was really funny.
It's a tutorial for summoning, and the summon is hilarious because Ichiban just takes his phone out. He's like, all right, and is wiggling his finger all around. It's time to call a friend. And then he hits the talk button. He's like, I summon you. And then the friend shows up, and you're just like, oh my god.
This guy's got like spiked maces for fists.
Yeah.
And he just beats the ever-loving shit out of these regular-ass men who are your enemies.
It's just so good.
It's so funny. It's so funny. Let's talk a bit about the battle system.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's really interesting.
Well, I mean, it takes a lot from the old Yakuza series, whereas the heat moves that you do get do actually have the like mash X to do more damage, or Press Y at this time.
Which the context sensitive attacks with the heat moves remind me of Paper Mario.
Yeah.
Actually, in which pretty much every attack is some kind of special some kind of special trigger you use to, extend the ability's power or make it work. And the interactable environments is something they take whole cloth from the other Yakuza games. But pardon me, I just burped. The ability to throw people into cars or to hit them with shit that's off to the side is really, really cool. Like, to see that integrated into a turn-based battle system is really interesting. But I can't help but be reminded of Chrono Trigger when I see the battles in this game take place.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Because it reminds me so much of the setup of ATB2, where your characters will just start the battle in the position where they were when you were on the field.
Yeah, and then they kind of move around.
The field map doesn't change to a battle screen. You're battling where you encountered that enemy. And so everything that is around you in that setting is now directly something that affects how that fight will turn out.
And sorry. Yeah.
Continue.
It's really cool too, because you'll have moves like Nanba has a move where it is which is like fire alcohol breath, where he just shoots fire out of his mouth and lights it on fire. But that's an AoE thing. So if the characters are moving around, you can time it to where there's sorry, I hit the mic. You can time it to where there's multiple enemies lined up in a row and hit all three of them. Or something like that, right?
That's something that that's something you can do in Chrono Trigger, where if you have the enemies are moving around in the screen, and if you have two enemies in a certain position and you line your attack up correctly, the attack becomes an area of effect attack, because you're hitting both of them at once with the same attack. Even if it's a regular attack, it'll hurt whoever is in range of it. It's so cool. It's such a good battle system.
It's really good. It's super satisfying. Good. It's more satisfying than the heat moves, and the heat moves were great. I love nothing more.
Looks great.
I love nothing more than kicking people off that bridge as Majima. I've kicked at least 1 million people off those bridges in
Zero.
In Zero.
But yeah, this is it's taking the extreme maximalist nature of the fights in Yakuza and turning them into this turn-based JRPG spectacle that's just, it's so stupidly cool to look at.
Yeah.
These fights look great. The attacks are also, a lot of them, because they're, modern takes on classic kind of JRPG type moves, there's always just kind of a cute, funny flourish to all of them.
Yeah.
One of my attacks the attacks I really like is when Nanba throws the beans out, and then all the birds
pigeons
swarm,
the pigeon feed
swarm the enemy.
I think it's my favorite move that I have right now. I'm still pretty early
funny.
Because not gonna lie, the first thing I did when I booted this game up was played a little bit, found the first Sega Land as Ichiban, and went and played Virtua Fighter 5 for 2 hours.
That's so on brand for you.
Yeah. I was like, holy shit, they got Virtua Fighter 5, let's go.
Although, you know what? It's funny because it just makes me think Virtua Fighter's in this RPG, but then it's but Virtua Fighter was going to be Virtua Fighter RPG, which became Shenmue, and everybody knows Shenmue basically became Yakuza.
Yeah, well, yeah, Shenmue doesn't need to exist now, honestly.
Shenmue doesn't need to exist because we have Yakuza, and it's good.
Especially not after Like a Dragon. Yeah, fuck Shenmue. I
feel like I've been shitting really hard on Shenmue lately.
Shenmue's
I will
such
not stop.
ass. Nah, fuck Shenmue.
I was laughing the other day because they released a special edition of Shenmue 3 with a vinyl box out of the soundtrack, and I'm like, great, more shit for Yu Suzuki fans to waste money on.
Yeah.
Yu Suzuki fans love giving their money to that man and getting nothing of value back.
Literally nothing. This man hands them a pile of shit and they say thank you.
Everybody should watch the Shenmue 3 video that Super Eye Patch Wolf made.
Oh man,
if you want to see a man broken by his love of Shenmue,
just watch anyone who played Shenmue 3. Even Maximilian has, I think he did a stream or two, and there's a compilation of his Shenmue shit, and it's funny because he's just I think it's a Hype and Rage actually. So it's a short 15-minute video, but it's just fucked up. It's just, the game's dumb. I hate
stupid.
Shenmue.
Shenmue is everything that Shenmue is something that Yakuza did better,
And
including
it's
now just being a good RPG.
It's especially baffling that Shenmue 3 is still bad.
Yeah, it plays just as badly as Shenmue 1 and 2.
Because you could have just ripped off
nothing.
Yeah, you could have just ripped off Yakuza, the clearly better, superior thing.
Yeah, but Yu Suzuki learned nothing about game design.
And I don't want to hear nobody saying, well, without Shenmue, Yakuza wouldn't exist. Yes, it would.
I mean, I feel like maybe not.
No, you can't tell me that the idea.
Well, I feel like
it
wouldn't be the same kind of game.
I think it would.
I don't know. Yakuza. I feel like Yakuza 1 does owe a lot to Shenmue 1 and 2, but there's a huge difference because Shenmue 1 and 2 are tedious to play, and Yakuza 1 is not.
No.
So I feel like without Shenmue, you don't get Yakuza, but without Yakuza, you don't get to see what Shenmue could have potentially been had it been handled by people who actually knew what the fuck they were doing. Instead of people with like way too much ambition.
I can't believe
too little time.
I can't believe an idea for a game like this wouldn't exist.
Well, I feel
without
like it would have happened in some form, but I feel like there are elements that would have been different. I feel like Kamurocho wouldn't feel the same as it would if it was influenced by how the towns operate in the Shenmue games. But that's like a pretty major element that I feel like would not be present. But anyway, all that's to said, Shenmue is poo-poo caca garbage, and it's very funny to make fun of it.
Yeah, and it's especially funny when people
and crying about Shenmue not being good. Well, you're stupid. It was never good. Go play Yakuza.
Yeah. Literally just go play Yakuza. You can do it.
Go play Yakuza and enjoy the time you spend with it, because it'll give you so much more back than any of the time you spend in Shenmue, which will give you nothing but depression.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, Yakuza Like a Dragon is now just a better RPG than Shenmue, so it's really funny.
Oh, another thing
gotten to this point
about Like a Dragon. I haven't gotten to the karaoke things yet, but apparently the karaoke English voice acting, they also all did in English.
Oh,
but so none of them can sing good.
Perfect, just like real karaoke.
Yes, because that's the thing with the Yakuza series, right? Like, the voice actors in the Japanese version of these games are...
A lot of them are trained singers.
TV stars, like, they're established Japanese talent. Whereas here it's like, oh, you have these voice actors, and all they do is voice act.
It's a lot of VAs.
They can't sing.
And it's really funny.
It is, and that's what you want out of a karaoke thing. And apparently...
Exactly. So it's almost like they improved it by just removing the talent.
Yeah,
aspect.
and that's
really
the
funny.
thing that convinced me to play in English, actually.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, let's talk about the English voice acting again for a second. I gotta say, they really nail the casting on pretty much every level.
100%.
In all the videos I've watched and every kind of like little playthrough I've gone through, I have not heard a single voice that felt to me out of place or weird. All of the voices felt appropriate. Like one that made me go like, "Oh my god," was when Rigby shows up as the owner of the Soapland in I think in chapter 3.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Rigby from regular show, that voice actor is just the owner of the Soapland.
Yeah.
It's really funny. I was laughing so hard. I'm like, that's fucking Rigby.
See, I didn't catch that one because I didn't ever really watch the regular show, so his voice isn't like burned into my head. Like,
I was a regular show obsessive. I watched like the show from episode 1 to the final one, but I like Rigby is like, that's so funny. Like, it's because that character like is so diametrically opposed to Rigby as a person in terms of like, you know, Rigby is like a goofy slacker who will do like anything to not work, and this character is like a work obsessed guy who's running a tight ship and projects this aura of not giving shit about his employees because he's so dedicated to the work he's
but then
doing.
Also being like, I love my employees.
But he actually loves and treats them all really good and makes sure that they're okay and safe.
Okay, real quick.
Which is like really crazy. I don't know.
For my sake, that's exactly where I'm at right now, so we can't go past that. I know
I'm not going to go past
it.
Okay.
I just
for my sake. That was really cool. I do like also how they've reinterpreted not just like, because the Yakuza games, of course, there's, segments within the story that lead you through it where you're kind of going through different set pieces and scenarios. That's just how games work.
Yeah.
But the way that they've reinterpreted classic JRPG quest lines into a modern context is also really funny. Like, for instance, in the chapter that you're in, like, the story revolves around the party, the main adventuring party of characters, having to liberate like a girl's ailing father from an old folks home that's exploiting or harming the old people that live there.
Yeah.
And that's very much like a stupid telephone.
It's dinner time.
Rescue the princess, raiding the fortress kind of storyline. Where to the point where you're even disguising yourself as guards to get in and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it feels very medieval fantasy JRPG, but in modern Japan. The place is even called like Sunshine Castle or something like that.
It's Sunshine Palace.
Sunshine Palace or
I
something.
believe.
Yeah, it's like, it's got a castle name.
Yeah.
It's so fucking funny. And I was like, that's very clever. I appreciate that they're really going all in with the JRPG aesthetic.
Well, I think my favorite thing about that right now is that it's super funny because it's not like, oh, we have to go save this princess or whatever. It's like, we have to get this girl's dad out of this retirement home. We gotta go save this old ass dude.
Yeah, it's really funny. Who you never meet.
Yeah,
and you don't meet him, so it's just like, you save an old man because it's the right thing to do. It's really cute, and there's so much about this that works on every level. I don't think there's a single thing I can say to criticize the game.
I have not. Have I had any problems with it?
I feel like the learning curve is really reasonable, because there are some fights get hard.
Oh yeah, no, some fights get really hard. Like one gripe I've had with it was I was trying to go do the movie mini game, which is a very, very fun rhythm mini game kind of.
Okay.
You have to like stay awake, and there's sheep that pop up, and it's like left, right, down, up on the D-pad, or X, Y, B, A. And
right.
like they pop up. It's kind of like a Simon Says.
Okay.
But whatever. I was trying to get to that mini game because I was like, oh, I want to do one of those. They're very fun, and I just kind of want to pass some time, because that's one of the cool things about this game too. Is like, you can just be like, what do I want to do? There's so much wacky shit to do. I could do the main quest, or I could do 50 million other things. I could go drive a go-kart. There's literally a fully fledged like
Mario
go-kart
clone.
mini game. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah,
it's very fun.
It even has like the UI of a Mario Kart when you play it.
Or am I going to go really spend another 3 hours playing Virtua Fighter 5? Who knows? But yes, I was trying to get to the movie minigame. And I ran into this problem, and it's my only gripe with the game so far, where I would... So like a group spawns right in front of that movie. And
like an enemy group.
Yes, and they walk towards you. So you fight them and you defeat them. And as soon as you defeat them, or as soon as I defeated them, I don't know if this is like a scripting bug or whatever in my playthrough. I don't know if this happens every single time. It was just, it happened yesterday or the day before when I was trying to do this thing.
They respawn right back in the same
respawn
location.
right back in the same location. So it's like fight after fight. And I was just like, by the end I was out of items and like at 0 health, and was like, oh my God. Like I actually died
grinding
there.
This was not.
Yeah. But I was like, maybe it was a bug, whatever. But I ended up getting to the minigame anyway. But like, I was like, oh, that's kind of frustrating. But it's not like, that's my biggest gripe, was I was kind of like, oh, why?
But the battles are fun. Which
yes,
is a
no, they
big
super
part
are.
about it that's cool. Oh, you know what's really cute? That all of your weapons are just everyday items that are ascribed an immense amount of importance by the party in the ways that they use them. Like,
Nanba has umbrellas.
Adachi's like billy club.
Yeah.
Which is basically just like a stick. And of course, Ichiban's got his baseball bat, which is basically a sword.
Yeah,
it's
hero's
really
sword.
Funny. You armor up at the fucking sex dungeon.
Yeah,
like you buy weapons from a sex shop that sells like paddles and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's really funny.
It's very good.
Whips and chains and shit.
I also want to say this one is the biggest one, well, that I've played, that has like exploration.
Yes.
Like there's chests and like safes hidden around.
Yeah, Yokohama is structured a lot more like an RPG world than even not to say that Kamurocho isn't like an RPG world, because it's like really small and contained, but there's a lot to do.
Yeah.
It feels a little more, a little bigger.
It definitely is. It just is
bigger physically, but also there's so much more to explore because of the size, and because it's like a real place, as opposed to Kamurocho, which isn't, even though it's based on real places.
Yeah.
So it feels like they really had like a lot of fun mapping out interesting places to hide shit, just because it is like a weird, like sprawling like urban nest of alleyways and roads,
and it doesn't
like
necessarily
districts.
Block you off too, which is what I like.
Yeah,
because I went to go do the Mario Kart mini game. I had a very fun time with that, and then I went to the dock right next to it, and there's just this guy standing on the dock, and I was like, oh cool, mini boss. I was level like 13 at the time, and I'm like, all right, let's go. He comes up and he's like level 23. I was like, nope, we're running, we're out of here.
Oh, shit.
I've played enough RPGs to know that I'm dead here. I'm done.
Yeah, that's really funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all of this is to say that Yakuza Like a Dragon is a really exceptional RPG.
Amazing.
Like from top to bottom, not that I didn't think it would be this good. I actually really I was pretty much on board with it the second I learned about it.
I knew it was going to be good. I didn't know it was going to be this good.
Yeah, it's exceeded already just ridiculous expectations, especially coming off of Yakuza 6, which is like the end of Kiryu's story, like the end of the narrative that people have been following this series for since the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just like, it's a completely new take, but it still feels the same. They literally turned the game into something, like, it turned it into a completely different genre.
They have a good word for it. Spiritual successor.
Well, yeah, or soft reboot.
Well, yeah.
But I feel like...
But I feel like it's more of a continuation.
I feel like spiritual successor, yeah, and stuff like that. It implies that, like, the other series has been put to bed.
But it hasn't.
It's the same series. Like, not many series survive a direct, like, transition of genre entirely.
Yeah, not many series survive 15 games and then a direct
and then a
series
direct change
transition.
of genre. Yeah. Like, a change from a genre everybody pretty much likes to one that a lot of people have mixed feelings on, because turn-based JRPGs are not people's favorite genre. In Japan, they're huge. Internationally,
some people
I feel
don't
like
a
lot of people don't like them that much.
And
it's
those
seen
people
as a lot more niche.
Those people are wrong.
Those people are wrong. That is the stance
inherently. But
because turn-based RPGs are fucking great.
But we'll never condemn you for being wrong. We'll just make fun of you.
But there's this stigma surrounding turn-based JRPGs. A lot of people don't like them, but I feel like Yakuza Like a Dragon, for better or for worse, is going to get a lot of people into turn-based JRPGs.
Yeah.
Because it's, inviting in players that maybe aren't totally familiar with the genre to play a really exceptional version of a game in that genre. And that's great. Like, that's really, really great. A game with, like, a unique battle system, great characters and story, a lot of just, like, really, really, really fun interpretations of JRPG conventions.
The only other game
so impressive
I can think of that changed genres so hard and successfully was, for me personally, Chain of Memories on the GBA, obviously.
Yeah, and that's like a one-off spin-off in terms of, like, they never really did that ever again in the series. But like, and they also did it pretty early on. Like, that's more like a Zelda 2
that was before,
than it is a Yakuza 7.
That was before Kingdom Hearts 2 came out.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's very much like a Zelda 1, Zelda 2 situation where those two games are just not the same kind of game fundamentally. Or, like, to a lesser extent, Mario and then the American version of Mario Brothers 2, which just plays kind of differently and doesn't operate on the same rules as Mario 1. But, yeah, like, this is... I cannot honestly think of another series that has so gracefully transitioned genre and retained every shred of its identity. It feels like nothing has been lost.
Mm-hmm.
And they're telling, like, I hope this is the beginning of, like, a billion great new Yakuza RPGs.
It better be.
Yeah, like, I want this game to get as many games as the original Yakuza
Well, I mean, it's already nominated for shit at the Game Awards, and it came out a week before the Game Awards started being announced.
Yeah, but it has been out in Japan for a while. People have had their hands on it for a long time.
Yeah,
they worked really hard on the English version. Like, the English version, it's not that it's fundamentally different from the Japanese version, but it's very much like they worked super hard to make sure that people in the West could play this game and love it.
Yeah.
And the hard work shows.
I think they succeeded.
So quality shows. The fact that they got George Takei to play a main character fucking owns.
Yeah.
So I really can't overstate how good George Takei is as Arakawa. He endears you so instantly to that character.
Oh yeah, no, you're immediately like, I would die for this man.
Literally mild spoilers, but the first thing you see in the entire game is a flashback from Arakawa's perspective to his childhood. And immediately you understand what events in his life have shaped him to be who he is at that point in the story.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you get this great picture of, oh shit, like, this is a man who has seen tragedy, who knows how harsh and unforgiving the world can be, especially the Japanese criminal underworld.
Yeah.
But you can see that he didn't lose the kindness and the grace,
the humanity
that he exuded as a child, the humanity that he had, the genuine empathy. Even though he, is a killer and a criminal, he is still a human being. And it's like, Arakawa is he's gonna go down as like an all-time great character in the series.
Oh, for sure. And like, I mean, even just
like, I know where that story goes, and I know how it ends now because I've watched a full playthrough of the game. I honestly think that, like, Arakawa is going to be up there.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of, like, people in the fandom's esteem. Like, not that he's not quite Majima levels of funny and fun, because Majima is, like, the game's
nuts,
ha unpredictable man.
Joker.
He's the Joker, baby. But, and literally in the first game. But, like, he is going to go down as, like, an all-time favorite character in the series. Arakawa is such a well-developed, well-written character, and Ichiban is too. Like, Ichiban,
everyone is.
I will spend as much time as they ask me to with Ichiban from now on.
15 games.
Honestly, give me 15 games with Ichiban, and I will not be dissatisfied.
Make Ichiban such a good boy. Start an orphanage and have to make curry.
But which would be a very JRPG appropriate end for a hero story. But yeah, this is all to say Yakuza Like a Dragon is super good, and if you have a computer that's able to run it or a console that's able to run it, pick that shit up and just lose yourself in that game.
It is.
I'm honestly super jealous that Ben is able to play it.
It is worth
because it's
the full
price. It is the one game I have ever felt very angry about not being able to play.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so in love with it. Like, if this would easily be my game of the year if I was able to play it.
Well, I'm just glad it came out on PC same day, because usually these games don't.
And this is the first PC version is very good.
Oh yeah, it's great. It's crashed a couple of times, but
perfection.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really excellent. So yeah, Yakuza Like a Dragon Quest. Go out and play it if you can. Now, you said you had some movies you wanted to talk about. I do. I want to hear about these movies.
I guess we should talk about The Lighthouse first.
Yeah, let's talk about The Lighthouse.
So you've seen The Lighthouse, right?
I saw this movie when it came out.
Okay, good.
And I saw it in theaters.
Oh, nice.
Which was a very interesting experience.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Remember those theaters? Remember theaters, Ben?
No.
Yeah, I know.
I had a great time. Yeah. I had a great time watching this on the comfort of my couch.
Yeah, it's it's honestly, it's not a movie that gains or loses much by the location you watch it in my opinion.
Because it remains
as gripping and good as it always is.
It remains in 35mm 1.19 by 1 ratio no matter where you watch it. So
exactly.
The intended effect stays, right?
And it is a truly beautiful movie.
It is. It's very good. Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson, amazing.
It's
Like
really quite impressive.
the shot composition. There's nothing about this movie that I was like, eh. The sound design, the crushing, horrible, droning, oppressive sound design is so good.
Mm-hmm.
Just the whole time you're like, oh, okay, and it's set immediately, like second one.
Something that I love about the movie is it reminds me why I love Robert Eggers's movies.
Yeah,
so he's the director. Eggers.
Robert Eggers.
He has Eggers, I think.
Eggers.
But Robert Eggers, he directed The Witch, which is one of my favorite movies. Ever.
I mean,
ever.
This sets Robert Eggers as my favorite modern director. I think we'll see what more comes out.
He is like a New England guy. I think he was born in New Hampshire, and all of his movies have like New England in them so far. So The Witch is set in New England during the time of the Puritans, and The Lighthouse is set in New England, but during kind of a non-specific but 19th century.
Like the 20s.
I want to say sometime close to like the late 19th century, early 20th century.
Yeah. And
boy, oh boy, does that like nebulous, weird feeling of like what year does this take place in? Actually, so it says late 19th century, so it's supposed to be in the late 19th century. I didn't even know that. I got the impression somewhere around that time.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why he filmed it on 35mm and made the aspect ratio what it was to get kind of the period across more. And it completely works. I think one of the funniest scenes in that movie is when Robert Pattinson's character, Thomas, because they're both named Thomas. Yes, Robert Pattinson's character. They wake up from a drunken, horrible night, and he's horribly, horribly, horribly hungover. But he has to take the bedpans out because they're full of pee and poop, and so he horribly, horribly hungover. Just takes them. Walks outside. It's windy as shit. It's fucking raining. It's horrible. The weather is disgusting. You can tell from the like super like it's not a like close-up shot. It's kind of like about 20 feet away, and you just see him like walking and trudging against the wind and having a horrible time. And you see he's miserable. And he tosses the bedpans against the wind, and it just hits back at him, and he just screams, and it cuts mid-screen to him like walking back, and it's so comedic and hilarious. So like that's the thing, like the movie is super oppressive and dark and like you're kind of weird. It kind of reminds me of The Shining a little bit. It's like a little bit. It is a
movie about the horror of isolation.
Yeah.
And it's very, I feel like it's very informed by like the imagery and plot dynamics of like classic mythology. I think it's something he even says at the end, and I mild spoiler. But at the very end, one of the final lines from the characters is, I wish you like a Promethean fate.
Yeah, it's Prometheus is this Greek mythology,
and like the final shot
is so good.
Is very Promethean.
Yes.
If you know anything about the story of Prometheus and how he had his liver pecked out by an eagle every day of his life until the end of time, like it's the imagery of somebody having their innards being fucked up by birds.
Yeah, and like there's so much you can pick apart from the movie on rewatches and stuff that I very much like. Like there's the a parallel that I kind of drew with the final scene is the scene with the mermaid, and you know what I'm talking about. The mermaid vagina, which is kind of like this open like stomach, and she's laying on the rocks, and I was like, oh, that's kind of a like he's imagining this because it's what's happening to him, sort of, right? Like his stomach is like completely open, Yeah, but also there's
crazy.
so much shit you can like gather and like just on
Oh yeah.
rewatches just be like, oh, this is this connected to this? Maybe, probably. I don't think Robert Eggers does anything on accident.
No, this whole movie is so intentional,
and that's why it reminds me very much of The Shining.
Yeah,
it was like, and like obviously that's not low praise at all. Like if you're gonna be
if you want to be compared to stuff like The Shining,
yeah. God, what was his name? His name, fuck. Oh my God, the director of The Shining. It's gone.
Kubrick.
Yes, Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah.
If your movie's going to be compared to the works of Kubrick, I think that's pretty good. Comparison for it.
Yeah, there's this very kind of like psychoanalytic kind of aspect to the movie too. There's like I know that Eggers is super into like Carl Jung.
Yeah.
And so there's like some Jungian and even Freudian kind of influence to it. Like he makes it pretty explicit that like the lighthouse is kind of like
a phallic symbol.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
it's very phallic looking, obviously, but like the way that it's treated in the movie is like this thing that is constantly being scaled.
Yeah.
And like it's almost like they're rubbing it. You know?
I mean, there's that one shot. Well, they literally are when he's painting it. But there's that one shot where the camera is on its side, so you see the lighthouse like on its side, kind of, and then it pans back to a straight view, and you're like, haha, penis joke.
Yeah, there's also like kind of this like very like Oedipal dynamic between the two men, where like Pattinson's character is like kind of simultaneously like admires Defoe, but is clearly like put off and threatened by him at the same time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's when they're shit-faced drunk, there's that like kind of homoerotic scene where they're like cuddling and like, and then immediately they both are like, you fuck, and just start fist fighting because they're like, no, we gotta be, we're men, damn it.
It's so like, I feel like if you had Carl Jung or Freud watch this, they'd have like a field day.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's playing a lot with like a lot of Jungian and Freudian ideas and symbolism.
Yeah.
But yeah, The Lighthouse is a really interesting movie. It's so deeply like steeped in mythology too, that like I really do like all the sea monsters and Greek myth kind of callbacks.
Yeah.
This Proteus kind of thing that he keeps seeing Defoe as, like that kind of sea god looking guy.
Yeah.
Really, really cool.
And shout outs to Willem Dafoe for the scene where he's cursing Robert Pattinson's character, which is also another funny, it's probably one of my favorite funny scenes in the whole movie, where Willem Dafoe goes on a whole rant and he's just cursing Robert Pattinson's character to like a horrible death in the ocean by gods and whatever creatures, blah blah blah, and he's not blinking the whole time, and the thing goes on for like 2 minutes, and then it cuts back to the back shot of Willem Dafoe where you see Robert Pattinson just lying on the ground. He's like, fine, have it your way, I like you cooking, and it just cuts. It's funny, it's like the comedic, it's just so good.
There's like a lot of like wink wink nudge nudge homoerotic subtext in the movie.
Oh yeah, well, I mean,
like I have to say, you were talking before, like when he sees like the mermaid vagina.
Oh yeah.
But like I had quite a laugh when he just like, you know, he spends like a lot of this movie like masturbating to this little mermaid figurine that's like made out of bone or something like that.
It looks like some kind of bone or like
it's like
ceramic.
It's been like whittled out of bone or ceramic or something. But he like constantly is sexually fantasizing about this mermaid, and he keeps seeing imagery of like it washing up on the shore. But then he sees its vagina and he runs away screaming. And I'm like, this is like the gayest thing I've ever seen in my life. There's a lot of like dominance and submission, power dynamics in the movie too. Yeah. It's so gay. It's so fucking gay. But also mythology is super gay.
Oh yeah, well, it's Greek mythology.
Because a lot of Greek mythology is just heavily informed by gay men being gay.
Yeah,
what to one another.
Greek mythology is just Christian mythology, but if the gays won.
Pretty much, yeah. even Christian mythology is super homoerotic.
Oh yeah, but they don't want
to begin
talk
with.
about that.
I mean, there's like all these times too where like Defoe calls Pattinson's character like, "Oh, you're as pretty as a picture.
Yeah.
Your eyes are as bright as a lady's eyes." Like,
Yeah. I mean, that's that one scene
I had such
where,
a field day with this
where
movie.
Robert Pattinson is like applying the shingles on the roof because the roof is leaking. It's raining.
Yeah.
And he stares in, and you just see Willem Dafoe's ass, and Robert Pattinson just is like, "God damn it!" and just beats the shingle in. And it's like, "Fucking, ugh, I'm so mad that I'm gay."
It's
so funny.
It's so funny. This movie is really excellent. So yeah, I guess watch The Lighthouse if you haven't seen it.
It's probably one of my favorite movies that I've seen in years, honestly.
It's so entertaining.
It's up there with Mandy.
It's a very rich text.
Yes, it's better than Mandy also, by the way.
It's absolutely better than Mandy.
100%. I love Mandy, but woof, does not hold a lighthouse.
Mandy is not like this intentionally like...
Mandy's a fun romp through gore grindhouse movies.
Yeah, Mandy is a grindhouse movie with really pretty lighting.
Mm-hmm.
This is like
an oppressive psychology.
This is a movie made to piss off film students, and
Yes, I mean, it has one of my favorite shots too, where there's so many good shots in this movie, but what like that I found was super fun was like Robert Pattinson is throwing coals into the furnace, and the shot is like from under the shovel. Right, so you're like look, and it holds on it for like a minute almost, and you're just like, this is a weird shot composition. I love this. Like, is it art house? Not really, because art house is more pretentious than this. This isn't like pretentious. This is trying to be like, it's like anti-art house.
You know what movie it kind of reminds me of a little bit?
What?
There Will Be Blood.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen There Will Be Blood, but it feels a little bit Andersonian, like Paul Thomas Anderson. Andersonian, in that it's not the same kind of story as that movie, but the tone is like men trying to conquer things that you cannot conquer.
Yeah.
Men trying to defeat things that cannot be defeated. It's got that kind of, I don't know if I'd call it hopelessness, but a little bit almost.
I would say yes, because I mean, even the whole movie, right? There's like, because you're following Robert Pattinson basically through this entire genre, and it's kind of like the movie's pulling some unreliable narrator shit. You're like, there. I mean, even we talked about The Shining earlier, but there's the scene in there's the scene in The Lighthouse where Willem Dafoe's character is running after him with an axe, or is he? Who knows? Mm-hmm. But even like right after that scene, he says something about like we're not losing our marbles freezing, or no, he's like, maybe you're losing your mind frozen to death in a field up north in Canada still. And I'm like, oh, that's a Shining reference right there. That's got to be. There's no way that it's not.
It was so cool. This was such a good flick. Like if you haven't watched The Lighthouse, please go get a watch.
Yes,
it's really excellent.
Would you say it's misery porn almost?
No, because you know what? I don't find it to be a miserable viewing experience.
Well, no, but I mean, like, the characters are having a miserable time, though. Is more what I mean.
That's certainly true. A miserable gay time.
Yeah.
But I don't find it pornographic or exploitative in the sense that, or voyeuristic in the sense that you would say something that has pornographic tendencies would. It's not leering in any way that it doesn't want you to be. Yeah. Like, it's not a movie that, none of this imagery exists to titillate the audience.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, fair enough.
I feel like all the nude shots, like everything in the movie that's intentionally erotic is intentionally erotic. Everything in the movie that is nudity but not shot or framed in an erotic manner is really non-erotic.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, but this is an interesting movie about eroticism, homoeroticism.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. I don't know if I'd call it pornographic. It's certainly miserable though.
Yeah.
All right. What's the other movie you wanted to talk about?
Oh god, there's almost too many.
Oh God. Pick a favorite.
Hold
and then
on.
We can get
Yeah,
on to the
I
news.
just I gotta think about it real quick. Hold on. Where
Pick a
where
goddamn
where are our
prick.
notes? Where was the last one? Talked about that. Did I talk about Sleepaway Camp? Yes, we talked about Sleepaway Camp.
Oh yeah, that was. I'm
Oh
so
god.
excited that you liked it.
Yeah.
That's a really really good movie.
You know what? I'll make movie notes for next time, and next time will probably be mostly movies since we talked so much about Yakuza 7. We can just move on. I don't really.
Sure.
Oh,
Do you want to talk about the news then?
Actually, wait. I'll talk about one more game that I played with Anthony, and that is Lord of the Rings:
Yeah.
War in the North.
Okay, what is this? I've never heard of Lord of the Rings: War in the North.
It is basically what's happening that isn't following the Ring Bearer.
Oh.
You follow three characters that are apparently mentioned in the book, according to Anthony. I don't know. I don't.
Oh yeah, Aridin, Farron, and Adriel.
Yes, them. You're following them.
Andriel, sorry. Yeah.
Through their quest. Well,
Aridin, Farron, and Andriel.
well,
Okay.
Frodo's
When
doing
did this
his
come
thing.
out?
Xbox 360, PS3 era, so it's a pretty old game.
2011.
Yes, and it's very fun so far. It's probably one
Oh
of
my
the
god,
best.
it came out right before Skyrim. Oh shit.
Oh, it
It
all
got
makes
fucking
so much
buried.
sense. Yeah, it got.
No wonder.
Okay, well,
Nobody knows this
I'll have
game.
to tell Anthony
Okay.
that because he was like, I don't get how this didn't take off more. But yes, it's a very fun game. We're still pretty early, but it's a very good action RPG. It has skill trees, kind of like, I guess like Borderlands, where it's like three different ones, and then those branches go down to different things depending on what you want your build to be.
Okay.
I'm saying Borderlands because that was the first time I'd ever seen the skill trees like that. So
Yeah.
I know it was before, but that's my point of reference.
All right.
But yes, it's very good. The combat's super fun, and like once you start unlocking abilities, it gets really wacky and ridiculous. It's very buggy, and the frame rate is just dying on multiplayer mode, which is why we're playing it because it has multiplayer, kind of like how Two Towers had multiplayer,
Okay.
but better, much better. So yeah, we played that. More on that probably next week. Because we're still pretty early because we found a bug that let us grind out a shit ton of money. So we spent like an hour and a half just doing that, where we load into an area, go back to the starting village. For some reason, there was a pile of like a bunch of armor and weapons in the middle of the starting village every single time we loaded back in there. So we would just sell that and everything we got from chests, go back to the area, raid all the chests again, come back, get the items, go back to the other place, raid all this. So we did that for like 2 hours, which is why we're still very, very early in the game. But we got past the first boss fight, and it was very fun.
I'm looking at the gameplay, and it almost looks like it's kind of like your classic arcade hack and slash.
Yeah,
kind of game.
I mean, it feels kind of like Darksiders, God of War, kind of a little bit better than God of War, but
it looks like that, but even more elemental. Like, what is it? Gauntlet? That original kind of.
Yeah, Gauntlet would be a very good comparison to
or
this.
like even Golden Axe, but in 3D.
I don't have much history with Golden Axe.
It kind of looks like that sort of thing. I'm really fascinated by this game.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
surprised
check it
I've
out.
never
Honestly,
freaking heard of it.
If you can
Yeah,
find
it looks a lot like Golden Axe, but 3D.
Yeah.
Even in the sense that Golden Axe is like very Tolkien-esque medieval fantasy with like a Robert E. Howard kind of thing going for it too.
Mm-hmm.
This is really interesting. Ben.
Yeah, no,
Holy shit.
it's a
I can't believe I've never heard of this
good
game.
Well, Skyrim.
I feel like rip this game because it's like it came out a couple of weeks shy of Dark Souls, the same day as Uncharted 3, and 10 days before Skyrim.
Oh, yeah.
This thing was fucking dead on arrival. That's not fair.
Especially since the Lord of the Ring IP for games has not had a very good track record up to that point.
Yeah, I feel like I played one Lord of the Rings game prior to this one that existed that I kind of liked. I'm trying to remember which it was.
It's probably Two Towers. Or maybe
yes, it was. It was the Two Towers game on PS2.
The Two Towers was
really
very good, yes. And like
that
this
was
is
a really good game.
This is like if the Two Towers was better fleshed out.
I think I played the Third Age too, the tactics game. That one was okay.
Yeah, that one was all right. I played that one too, I think. But
It's
yeah,
like
it's
the one that's like a third person, like turn-based RPG.
yeah.
That one's kind of cute. It's got like strategy elements to it. I like that one. That was pretty all right. But yeah, no, the only game like games I've played since that were Middle Earth games were the Lego Lord of the Rings game, which is fun, but it's kind of like a C tier Lego game.
Yeah.
And I played Shadow of Mordor, which I actually didn't really like that much.
Shadow of Mordor is not good.
And then Shadow of War, which I hear the sequel is like even worse.
No, Shadow of War is actually better than Shadow of Mordor.
Is it?
Yeah. It well, according to Anthony, I haven't touched it. But
I heard nothing but bad shit. I remember Jim Sterling really went after it for some really predatory microtransactions.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, I think Shadow of Mordor though I played, and it was like
maybe I'm thinking of a different game.
Maybe Shadow of Mordor is the one that came out in 2014.
Yeah,
it's the one that.
Well, so Shadow of War is the direct sequel, right?
Yeah, it's the direct
sequel.
So
the sequel apparently is better.
Okay.
Anthony doesn't care about microtransaction shit. He just ignores it, right? So
okay.
I assume if you just ignore it, it's probably fine. Just like how DMC, kind of DMC5, you could argue there's predatory microtransaction shit. It's like, just give us money and you can level up your character to 100%. It's like, yeah, fuck that.
Yeah,
I don't want to do that. I'll just ignore this. I'll pretend it's not in the game and I'm fine.
This seems like, this is the one that I played. Shadow Mordor is the one that I played, and I didn't really like it.
With the Nemesis system.
Yeah, the Nemesis. It was like, that's neat. I like the cool behavior.
Yeah, but there's just nothing there.
There's nothing there for me narrative wise. It's like it was weird. I hate all these Middle Earth games where like they put you in the shoes of like these fucking like just steely-eyed male characters.
Yeah.
I'm so not into it. Like I want to play a Middle Earth game.
Well, it's because they want everyone to be Aragorn.
Play as a fucking hobbit.
Yeah, well, they want everyone to be Aragorn.
I know that Lord of the Rings Online was popular for a long time.
Maybe.
I heard that was pretty good. Maybe that would be better because you could just play as like a hobbit. I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Can I have like my sits around all day and does nothing but eat and smoke simulator? Like that sounds like fun. I don't know. I feel like so many like the aesthetic of Middle Earth is like so misinterpreted by like people who have only seen the movies and like take a lot of inspiration from the movies but don't like see the substance beyond the spectacle.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I feel like it's a series that can be like really gentle and nice too.
Yeah, well, I mean,
and really magical and fantastical and almost kiddish.
Well, all that shit is happening with Frodo. Like, there's just hobbits hanging around, lighting fireworks and drinking beer.
Yeah, I feel like we never see that aspect of Middle Earth, and people.
And it would be nice.
It sucks. Yeah.
Especially, I think it would have helped the movies for like a contrast a bit, right? Because by the third movie, I feel you're just kind of like, oh, it's dark, it's gloomy, everyone's fucking depressed and dead or sad. Dying. Yeah, like everyone's.
I do love the movies. Don't get us wrong.
I just want to go home, Mr. Frodo.
Mr. Frodo, I'm just tired.
Yeah.
I want to go home and eat cheese. Like this is their lives. I'm like I like that's why I like the hobbits because they're so like weak and insignificant.
Yeah.
And they live in a world that like is completely blind to like the horrors outside of it. But it's a really interesting dynamic then to pit those characters against that world and those worlds against those characters because they're so diametrically opposed on like a worldview standpoint where it's like the whole world is like it's so grim and dire and these hobbits have just like such an optimistic and hopeful take on everything they do and you know looking at everything around them with like joy and excitement and glee, and that's really cool. And it just kind of sucks that you never get that part of Lord of the Rings in the games. Mm-hmm. But let's finish talking about, I guess, games and get into the news, because there's been some news that is really worth talking about, and I feel like I am just so fucking excited for this I can barely like hold it in, you know? But Neo: The World Ends With You was announced, and I'm really excited for it because I never thought it would happen, but it kind of seems like inevitably it would at some point, because Nomura has been like I don't know, working elements of The World Ends With You into his, like, what do you call it? Like, his oeuvre, in that Kingdom Hearts is full of The World Ends With You references.
Yeah.
There was an entire ass game where he was like, no more Final Fantasy, just The World Ends With You.
Yeah, because Final Fantasy, there's too much going on.
Yeah.
I can't keep up.
No more Final Fantasy, just all twee-wee characters. And he did indeed do it. But yeah, the game is beautiful. Like, Neo The World Ends With You looks like something right out of like a drawing of his.
Well,
like
I found it really funny how everyone was like, "Oh, it looks like Persona 5 inspired this game," and you're like,
man,
"Oh,
it didn't even take 2 seconds, huh? Oh, sweet child, you have not been on the internet for very long, huh?" These are people who never play RPGs, though.
No, of course.
I feel like Persona's primary audience now isn't hardcore JRPG fans, but people who like got into the series because they're like, you know, otaku.
Yeah.
But I feel like, yeah, them looking at The World Ends With You and going, this looks like Persona, is super funny to me, because no, the thing is that Persona actually looks a lot like The World Ends With You. Especially now. Persona, you know, past Persona 3 took some heavy inspiration, I think, from The World Ends With You.
Mm-hmm.
In like many different aspects, might I add. Like visually, sonically, even.
Yeah.
Like how those games sound. It's so different. Like Shoji Meguro, obviously, you know, his compositions are super, like, you know, bright and poppy, but they only become super bright and poppy, really, moving past No More Heroes. The World
boy.
I have No More Heroes on my mind. I'm so sorry. Moving past
Persona 3?
Persona 3.
You did it.
Persona 3's soundtrack is full of kind of that fun, bright, poppy, jazzy, J-poppy stuff, right? Like, you get a lot of that. But, like, sonically, you really, like, you really hear the evolution in 4. 4 doesn't sound like the same game as 3. And it's because 4 is so fundamentally different from 3.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a direction that I think was heavily informed by the, like, the style and culture of, like Japanese, like, contemporary, like, fashion and music and, like, all the stuff that, like, comes from, like, these places that they set their games, like Shibuya and Harajuku and Akibahara, you know?
Yeah.
Or Akihabara? Akihabara.
Somebody's sleepy.
But anyway, yeah, this, like, contemporary Japanese popular culture informed RPG is, like, I think The World Ends With You did it first.
Yeah.
And it's really, really, really a fun and impressive game. But the fact that it's getting a sequel is, like, so super unprecedented to me. I didn't see that happening, you know?
Yeah, no, everyone, like, I flipped my shit. I think everyone who wanted this has collectively flipped their shit.
Yeah, we knew we were getting an anime.
Yeah, which was fine.
We knew
like, that's the thing. We
anime.
were so deprived. We were like, oh, an anime? Yeah, fuck yeah.
I'll take that. But, like, an entirely new game with a new cast on a new console in a completely different style. The battle system reminded me a little bit of, like, Xenoblade.
Yeah, I was about to say, the battle system change looks great.
It looks a little like Xenoblade, but it's got, like, a character action kind of element to it too, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? I'm kind of curious to see how that works out. But, you know, the badge system is clearly still there, because you can see them at the bottom of the screen when they're fighting. But that is really, really interesting to see, like, that kind of being done in that way. The character designs are all great. The main character, is his name, like, Ringa or something like that?
I have not registered the characters' names yet.
The main character wears, like, a mask, which is funny because I'm sure this was developed pre-COVID.
Oh yeah, no, it definitely was.
But the idea of him having, like, a mask as a fashion accessory makes it feel very modern. I liked how the game just looks like this warped, like, kind of Jet Set Radio-esque stylized city, where like everything it looks just a little off, a little cartoony and bent out of shape.
Yeah.
Just to kind of accentuate the character. Yeah, very comic, like a super like hyper abstract manga artscape.
Mm-hmm.
Like it looks really really cool.
Freehand.
Yeah, it looks neat as shit. Like I'm really I can't believe this is happening. And I want to play the shit out of it so bad.
Yeah, I can't wait. See, that's the game that I'm going to be jealous that I can't play. Because I don't own a PS4.
I think it's coming to I think it's coming to PS4 and Switch. Yeah,
yeah,
no,
but I don't...
no Xbox. That stinks.
Yeah.
But maybe they'll bring it to Steam.
Who
knows? It doesn't look. If it can run on the PS4, it can run on.
Yeah,
a PC.
But Square Enix doesn't generally bring a
know,
lot of stuff.
They've been pretty good to porting stuff on PC lately, even if the PC ports aren't always the greatest.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, look, the PC port of Final Fantasy VII was at least initially the best version of that game.
No, it's the worst one.
Well, at least it had a better translation.
Oh, well, maybe.
Yeah, it had a translation that didn't confuse the players. I mean, now it's I think the best way to play the game anyway. The best way to play any of those old Final Fantasies is on those official re-releases they've done.
Mm-hmm.
They play so good. But I feel like Square has been a little kinder to PC players lately, so you never know. I mean, The World Ends With You is on like iOS even. So I feel like having it be on PC would make sense, you know, to make it super accessible. Who knows? The fact that it's on Switch, though, is very exciting to me. I wonder if you'll be able to play it with the Switch's touchscreen like Bayonetta.
Oh. I hope
That'd be really interesting. Bayonetta plays really fun with the touchscreen. I actually really like how it plays. You don't even need to use the Joy-Cons.
I can't even wrap my brain around that.
It's cool. It's like playing a tablet game, but it's Bayonetta. It's nuts. The Switch actually does functionally operate like a tablet. It just has controllers slotted to the sides, and it's a really powerful tablet. That is, you know, the width of like a heavy object. But yeah, The World Ends With You, or Neo: The World Ends With You. That's gonna be really really cool, and I cannot wait to give that a try when it comes out. Just another thing to stick on my list for things coming out next year that I want to play. Like Bravely Default 2 is right at the top of that list.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be another one too.
I'm so excited for that. And that's one you're really not going to be able to play, so yeah.
I'm going to be upset. I should get a Switch.
But you get Yakuza 7, so...
Yeah. Fair trade.
Yakuza 7 is so good. I would almost trade... I would trade the exclusivity of any one of those Switch titles just to get Yakuza 7 working somehow on the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how they would manage it. They wouldn't.
I mean, they might. Didn't they port some Yakuza game to the Switch? Or was that a fever dream?
No, they did not port any Yakuza games to the Switch.
Oh no, people have been asking for it, but
people have been asking to. I mean,
yes.
You could probably port Zero to the Switch, no problem.
I don't know.
I don't think you would have issues porting Zero to the Switch. I'll be completely honest. I don't know about the Kiwami games. I feel like maybe Kiwami 2 would have a harder time running on the Switch. Are they going to do Kiwamis of all the games moving forward? Like, are they going to do Kiwami 3?
I'm not sure. I think not. Because I think Yakuza 3... What year did it came out? 2009? They could.
I feel like they could. It's over a decade old at this point.
But there are PS4 re-releases. They're just not Kiwami versions. So I think probably not. Because 1 and 2 didn't have PS4 versions.
Okay. That makes sense. Well, they could port some of the older Yakuza titles to the Switch for sure.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, I feel like Yakuza would work on the Switch. And I feel like they're honestly like a lot of Japanese games, they make like concessions in terms of where the tech is concerned in all the right places.
Oh yeah, like the pop-in is just so that your console doesn't die.
Yeah, exactly. So like I feel like you could tweak that to work on the Switch.
Maybe.
Yeah, who knows? We'll see. But at any rate, there's some good exclusive RPGs for things now. It looks like, and I also do get Tokyo Mirage Sessions.
Oh,
so
yeah, that's another one.
I can't wait to play that. I'm so excited to actually dive into that game because it is very strange to have basically a Nintendo exclusive Persona game, but that's what it is.
Yeah,
and it's really, really cool. I'm kind of excited to see what they do with that because I've never actually played it. I've only ever seen people play it, and I still actually don't think I have quite the correct impression of it. So we'll have to see when I play it and how I like it experientially.
Didn't you also get Wonderful 101?
I did get the Wonderful 101. I have Hyrule Warriors as well. I have Melody of Memory. So I have a bunch of things that I'm gonna dive into, but I want to finish Bug Fables.
Fair
first.
enough.
I feel like that's quite a bit for an episode.
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm getting sleepy. Obviously, I messed up a bunch earlier, so you can tell just by how much I've got No More Heroes on the brain that I kind of think my body is directing me to go and play more of it.
That's okay. So... I confirmed that it was No More Heroes, I think, at one point, but it...
Yeah. I did, in fact, say No More Heroes a bunch.
Yeah.
I said it all the way until you told me, wait a second.
Yeah, I came to and I was like, wait, no. Hold on. Nomura didn't work on No More Heroes.
No, wait a sec, and that's where it tipped you off. Not anywhere else too.
Yeah,
because it doesn't have the stink of Nomura.
No, there's not enough characters for it to be a Nomura game.
Yeah, not enough characters and not enough like fashion.
Yeah,
it's very punky in its approach to fashion. Nomura is more like I like just look
zippers.
At the characters and the bouncer, you get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, well I guess that'll be it for today. Thank you for joining us. I've been Ryan. You can find me online at Nouveau Art Punk, over on pretty much all social media, on Twitter, on Instagram. I also have a letterbox if you want to see me write about movies, because I have watched a couple of movies. I've watched a bunch of Robert Zemeckis movies recently, so if you check my Bobby Z tag, you'll see what I had to say about those. Bobby Z. Damn, Bobby, you're Bobby's. But yeah, so if you want to check me out there, you can. What about you, Ben? Where can people find you? What do you do?
I'm Scratch Me Silly everywhere. I have a YouTube channel where I upload things and I stream, and also I talk a lot on Twitter.
You do, it's true.
Yeah, Scratch Me Silly.
Talk a lot of shit.
Yeah, I do. Talk a lot of shit and shit post a lot. But yeah, it's Scratch Me Silly, all one word. Basically everywhere. Yeah. No, nothing. There's projects in the works, but nothing to announce right now. So,
if you want to see a really fun Star Wars video, watch a Star Wars toys video. It's basically designed to piss off toy collectors, and I love it.
It's so funny. I love it.
You just like undervaluing and overvaluing Star Wars toys that you love, and toy collectors watching and just going like, it's it was like a live action realization of those like, haha, Thingo Burr memes.
Yeah, like, essentially.
It's really, really good.
I still need to post it in like a toy collecting Reddit so it really takes off or something.
Oh, that would be
because
wonderful.
It did not hit any views. Well, no, it got a couple, but I think I may have made the intro too long, so I might like re-download it and trim down the intro. You're
not quite on the heels of like people like Toy Galaxy or Pixel Dan.
Yeah,
we'll say that. One day you and Anthony will just be the new Toy Galaxy.
Oh God.
It's like you up front, Anthony in the background filming everything.
Yeah,
that'd be funny. But anyway, thank you guys for listening. This has been GamePunx. I've been Ryan. You have been Ben. And everybody have a good night. I'll leave you all with a nice message from our friend K.O. from the show OK K.O.
Wash your hands, wash your hands. It's a good idea to wash your hands. Lather them up with a little bit of soap. Wash your hands, don't be a dope.